Along with heartbreak always comes some surprises in life, and that comes from going through paperwork, trying to put all this together, birth certificates, everything. And there's just some really fun facts came out that they're little things, but they became big things in discussions and threads on the internet and everything else. For instance, did you know that Grandpa now, his given name of Glenn could be either plural or singular? And that went on for back or forth. Well, it was plural, and what I mean by that, it had two N's on his birth certificate, and he always wrote it singular. But that discussion just went on and on for quite a while. It was kind of fun. And then I found out that Grandma Sargent, and how that came about, wasn't from Post, which I always thought, and I told friends that lived there that she was from there. She's actually from Gorman, Texas, which I don't really care for much. But anyway, that's where she was from. And as we were talking about it, reminded me of a funny story. We had a customer in the 70s and 80s whose husband was the president in the 60s. And he had a funny thing when he was signing everything that benefits us for Medicare and all the other bills. He was talking about Texas, and he said that Texas has a lot of small towns that can't afford a dentist or a doctor, and not even most of them don't even have a little store. But one thing that they all have is they can all support two lawyers, and that's to Rocket's benefit and all the family members that are attorneys. The other thing that came out, which was really surprising to me, was Aunt B also was dropped into this family at 16 years old, which I never knew. I never knew that. And if you all know Aunt B, she is just retired as being a dog walker in Portland, but she was honored for not letting go.
That's awesome.
I can tell you the difference between us is that Aunt B, I'm sure when Mom was walking on a beach and happened to see a real bright diamond and picked it up, and she was brought into the family. And in my case, I was the sticky penny that she picked up in the grocery market parking lot, and I was able to stick with her for 52 years. I honestly think that I grew on her because she liked the rhythm and the single tap every time she walked.
Yeah.
She was incredible, I can tell you. You need to know one thing. I came, until I was 16, I was from a family of 3, and my next closest relatives were 1,200 miles away, and it was back in a time that you just didn't jump in a car and go back and forth. I mean, you just didn't do it. And it was so basically my sister and I grew up on a desert island that far from having family. And the very first time when I met Brenda after square dancing, it took I think it was the next Christmas, I was invited to the family get together to go meet everybody and do everything, and it was overwhelming, to say the least. I can tell you, extremely overwhelming. To go from 3 to 200 that would show up at the parties and go through all of that. And my first assignment coming into the family was holding the light bar for Uncle Mike. It was about a 2,000 degree light bar that you had to hold up, and you had to be right. It couldn't be at an angle or down low. It had to be over your head. And that went on for several years. But I did notice every Christmas morning after the party, I could see more of my scalp. But anyway, I was glad when the light bar finally got retired. It was a wonderful thing for me. But the next initiation I had was I was brought into the card games and board games of the family. And regardless of the sport, the Beasleys played for keeps. There was no halfway on any game or anything. And all of that evolved into playing Mexican Train, which became the game of choice at the cabin. Just when you thought there may be a family game trophy in your future, the dream would quickly disappear. I'm